How are you guys?
That was a fun one, man.
Yeah, there was not a lot of drama. The one Monday night probably took years off a lot of our lives, but that one yesterday, it's like you come into the final minutes. It's like when we played the Patriots in 2018 and Brady was out for the last 7 minutes of the game. And, when they took Mahomes out with roughly 5 minutes to go, you're like, yeah, this is pretty great. So not what we expected. We expected a sort of a war, and it just turned out to be the Titans' day all the way around.
Titans have won 5 out of 6. They're 5-2, tied for first in the AFC. It's a good place to be. Big picture, what? And this is a really open-ended question. You can get as detailed as you want to get, or you can get as big picture as you want to get. But what was your main takeaway from that game?
That the plan that they continue to have, if they execute what they want to do, they can beat anybody. And we saw some of it at Jacksonville. We saw more of it in the Buffalo game. We saw more of it yesterday. But that's playing with good discipline. The longest play they gave up was a 25-yard completion, which occurred when they were already up 24 points. And it was a fourth down play. Pringle made a great catch. But otherwise, they kept everything in front of them. They tackled well. They did a great job on third down. They did a good job on fourth down. They did an excellent job offensively on third down and in the red zone. They played every situation just right. They got some turnovers, and that's another big thing that they've been doing. When we got through the first 3 games, they were -6 in turnover ratio. Yeah. Since then, the Titans have been +5. And so we're starting to see some of the things that we thought would happen for this ball club come to pass. And that's the most important thing, in my opinion, about what's going on with the Titans right now is they're doing all the things they need to do in their sort of stratosphere to be able to win games. Listen, had they gotten in a track meet with those guys yesterday, that's not good, because that's not how the Titans are built. The Titans are built to slug and to play 4 quarters and to give it to you in that way. Every team is built differently, and if you're taken out of your game, you don't perform. Well, the Titans were not taken out of their game at all.
You look at that secondary too, and this is a team coming off a short work week with a really long injury report, and you've got guys that are honestly backups and practice squad guys, having to step in and play, and that defense still gets it done. What was your takeaway kind of from the back half of that defense and the performance back there?
They were the beneficiary, Dawn, of that pressure up front, I think. Yeah. That, and they were the beneficiary as well of the offense getting the lead. The best defense for Patrick Mahomes is 6 minutes and 48 seconds time of possession in the first half. I think that's what it was.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It was crazy. And listen, had they had to play 35 minutes, had they had to play 85 snaps against Mahomes in a game that was 31-28, it could have looked vastly different.
Yeah.
But because the pressure was there, because the offense kept putting pressure on Kansas City, scoring points, hanging on to the ball, the secondary was able to play disciplined coverage. Nothing ever really happened that gave them a chance to get shook. And I think that was a big factor in all of it. Greg Maben played 72 plays. He had practiced with this team until Wednesday.
Yeah, signed Tuesday.
And
although he was familiar with the system.
Yeah.
He was familiar. And Maben is a guy who's played in this league. I mean, he had played in 35 games and he'd made 5 starts coming in. So, he's not a rookie out of, the indoor football league, Omaha Beef or whatever. He's a guy who's played in the National Football. Well, that was a real thing.
That's a real thing.
He's played the National.
He's
played the He's played the league, and that's great. But he hasn't practiced with this team. He had been here before. This was he said he was here for the 10th time. He was actually, I think it was the 3rd time. But, he was a guy who, if he doesn't get hurt in training camp, he has a great shot to make this roster as the 4th or 5th corner. But still, he didn't start practicing here till Wednesday. He was on Arizona's practice squad. Bobby Hart, last Monday, I was preparing that Buffalo might activate him to their roster. And yesterday, for us, he plays 42 snaps at left tackle.
Yeah.
Pretty good coaching job, pretty good scouting job. I mean, I think there's a lot of compliments that you can hand overall to a group who handled an unusual situation well. Listen, when we got to the ball yard and we heard Amani Hooker and Chris Jackson weren't playing, I'd be lying if I said we felt great.
Yeah, Mike, we're talking about this defense, but, man, I got to shift over to this offensive line, man. Like, you mentioned it. Dude, Ben Jones, Saffold, Lawan being out, Nate Davis, Quisenberry, like, the guys coming up, Radens even came in and was productive.
Mm-hmm.
Kendall, like, hey, man, I don't know I wish I had a garden in the back of my house and I could just bring a bulldozer over, get a dump truck, dig all the flowers up, and just go drop them off right outside the Titans complex, man, because, dude, they deserve everyone. What about this offensive line when you're watching it, Mike?
Well, they've given up 1 sack in the last 2 games, and it came right at the end of the first half in kind of an unusual situation. But the way they've held together has been really an impressive thing. The stat is they've played 7 games, and in those 7 games, not in one of them has all 5 starting offensive linemen played every snap. So they haven't had one game yet where Lawan, Saffold, Jones, Davis, and Quessenberry have all played every snap, have all played every down. They've had, they were close in the Indianapolis game. They had a handful of snaps where guys had to come off the field, but that was close. But what they've done with the lack of continuity is pretty impressive to this point. And it's almost in a strange way, because this keeps happening, everybody's ready, Ron. Yeah. I mean, everybody knows they've got to be ready to play. Dylan Radin stepped in at left and right guard and did just fine. Bobby Hart came in at left tackle. And, I mean, I'm no offensive line coach, but I didn't see the world end when he came in the game.
Right.
Good way to put it.
Lamb was doing fine before he got hurt.
Yep.
They're holding it together. The other thing you have, too, is when you have a veteran quarterback who can call plays and can set his protections in ways that are beneficial to the offensive line, I think we underrate how important Ryan Tannehill is in the operation of all of this. And having a 33-year-old quarterback who's a really smart guy is a big deal, in my opinion.
I'm glad you went that way. Ryan Tannehill, 21-27, 270 yards, a touchdown, interception. And it's funny because I didn't spend my time studying what they were doing conceptually on defense, but I did notice that they were a lot of times putting 2 deep at pre-snap and then moving 1 up, and there was a whole lot of single high safeties. He completed 11 straight passes to start the game. You go back to the Buffalo game, it's actually 21 in a row. Ryan Tannehill is playing at a high level, and I think well, let me ask you, is it simply getting more reps with AJ and Julio and those guys?
It's having them available.
Yeah.
For one thing, because I think they change things. And AJ has just stepped his game up so much. Julio's trying to play, and I think that's a big deal for us, because even if he's not 100%, you have to respect him.
That's right.
And, it sort of changes things. I think his football will get better for us as the season moves along, particularly with AJ taking over that role as a guy that you've got to be very worried about. And then, you've got other players. Josh Reynolds did a nice job yesterday, stepping in and getting 3 catches. And the distribution of the football is such a big thing. One of the things that's always impressed me about Tannehill is he'll throw it to anybody who's open.
Yeah.
Some quarterbacks won't. Some quarterbacks will only throw it to 2 or 3 guys because that's all they trust. Tannehill will give you a chance to make a play on the ball and with the ball if you can go out and get open. He'd have thrown it to Mason Kinsey yesterday if there had been a situation. He's not worried about any of that. And I think that's one of the things that when you go in the ball game for the Titans, whether you're Marcus Johnson or Nick Westbrook-Akina or Josh Reynolds or whomever, you know you've got to be on when you run your route because the ball could be coming your way. Right. And I think that's a big deal.
You mentioned A.J. Brown. Last 6 quarters, 15 receptions, 224 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, I think there's more to come too. I mean, particularly if they're going to put 9 in the box.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to beat him off the press consistently because he's so strong. And one of these times he's going to catch one of those crossing patterns and he's going to run off and leave everybody because he's going to break a tackle. And that's what AJ really gives you, is that play strength. You know, he's got speed, and a lot of receivers have speed, but, you know, he's 230 pounds. And when he gets rolling out there, I mean, he absolutely does not mess around. Now, the challenge in this game is this is a defense who does as good a job as anybody in the National Football League with takeaways, particularly Darius Leonard. You know, when you get out there, when you're running with the ball in the open field, you've got to make sure in this game you're really taking care of the football.
Yeah. Well, and if you're the Colts this weekend too, I mean, this is, hey, look, we struggled early. This is where we can get back in it.
Sure.
Divisional game. I mean, it's a very easy bounce back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and you know, they've already played the Rams, so that's out of the way. They've already played Baltimore, so that's out of the way. You know, some of the things for them schedule-wise, they've already made a West Coast trip and got a win last night. So, you know, they've done some good things. I think we knew this would come from them. I think, you know, when they left here 0-3, we didn't feel like they were going 4-13. You know, we thought they would get some things back on track. And the point was made to me by Matt Taylor, their play-by-play guy who I was visiting with earlier today. He said, you know, the early part of the season was really their training camp because they didn't have wins. Yeah. They didn't have several guys due to injury. And so they sort of played through some of that, lost some ball games. And now, I mean, they should have won their last 4. They had Baltimore beat. Yeah. But they should be coming into this game 4-3. And, you know, the Titans are not going to see the same team that they saw a month ago. It's a vastly different ball club, in my opinion.
And you know what, Mike? I don't think this Colts team is going to see the same Titans team either, because this line they wasn't holding up nowhere near in that game. Because Tannehill, honestly, he made some plays that when they first played the Colts, man, like he was running for his life. He was making IQ plays. Now with him being able to sit there and see and get things going, I think it's going to pose a different task for the Colts. And Darrington Evans and Jeremy McNichols coming back, man. How much did that help out?
Well, the Evans thing can be a big deal. I thought getting him back in there, you know, he had 2 rushes and 2 catches, and just being able to take some load off, to run some fresh legs. And let's face it, he's quicker than Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
So, you know, in some of these instances, by having that change up, you know, now is he as fast as Derrick Henry when both of them are running 80 yards? I don't know. Derrick Henry is amazing at top speed. But Darrington Evans gets to his top speed much more quickly. And so it's a completely different look. And he's a 205-pound back. He's not 175 pounds. So there's some ways that, you know, that he could help. He made a nice catch and picked up a first down yesterday. And it was good to kind of see that happen, to be able to utilize all the weapons. I think there's a role for Evans, and I think there's a role for McNichols, who had another 10-yard catch yesterday. And he's battling back from an ankle injury.
There he is, Mike Heath, the voice of the Titans. Got the Mike Vrabel show coming up tonight at 6 o'clock.
I hope people will submit questions, because I would be interested to know what you're interested in after the last 2 wins. We didn't have a Vrabel show last Monday because it was a game. So tweet us questions to Mike Vrabel via @Titans Radio. Again, send them to the Twitter account @Titans Radio, and we'll ask every single one of them.
Vrabel was a little salty after the win in his press conference, too. He's trying to keep everyone focused, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to do that. You know, he mentioned, too, I don't think he was very happy with how many Buffalo and Chiefs fans were in there.
Yeah.
And he made that clear as well. Mm-hmm. You know, he's got his eye on the prize. And I thought the Titans said it well. And I guess it was Byard who I specifically saw the comment attributed to, Don. The Titans didn't win anything yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
They won a ball game. That's it. It's the same as if you beat Jacksonville or if you beat Houston or if you beat Miami. It doesn't make any difference. They won a ball game. Now, that was the 2-time defending AFC champion. It's a big deal for the fans. It was fun. It was exciting. But they want more. And they realize if they're going to get more, they've got to keep getting better.